All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Whitfield Report. I am your host, Sam Whitfield, broadcasting a pre-recorded interview here from NGC Studios. And joining me on this special Tuesday edition of the show is my good buddy, Sean Semanko of Versa Media. And if you guys tuned into the podcast on Saturday, we actually had one of Sean's co-hosts for Real News, Dictator Phil. And, I want to thank Phil for coming on and, helping, be my impromptu guest and helping me do commentary on some of the dumb debate stuff. But Real News wasn't on this past weekend, and the reason why is because Sean was at CPAC, and so Sean actually offered to come on the podcast and give me a bit of an exclusive on his CPAC experience, which I really appreciate. Sean, welcome back to the Whitfield Report. How are you?
Pretty good. I'm drained from CPAC and actually, oddly enough, want to be back in D.C. I did enjoy visiting the swamp, as swampy as it was in many ways. There's a lot to do there, and it was fun, but cause now I'm back doing schoolwork, so it was a nice little mini vacation, but I would like to go back, but it was an experience. How are you doing? How was that interview with Phil?
I'm doing well. Well, Phil is entertaining as always, especially when you get him uncensored. He's really entertaining. And I did make one mistake with Dictator Phil, and by the way, thanks for lending him to us here at NGC Studios. We were
Comes at a cost.
Well, I fed him after midnight, and that's the problem. That's the problem. You. In fact, Alex even told me, Sam, you can't feed Phil after midnight, and I made that mistake. But no, in all seriousness, it was a pretty good time. We did commentary on the debate. Before we get into CPAC, actually, though, I do want to ask you, did you watch the dumb debates, and if so, what did you think?
I did not watch the most recent one because that was the night we were driving down to CPAC.
Oh, okay.
So I did not get to see it because CPAC was from Wednesday, I think February 26th, till Saturday. And the first day, Wednesday, we had to bring a bunch of other people from the College Republicans because they didn't have another car. So we lended ours and we gave them some seats and they came down with us. And we were originally going to leave Tuesday night, but Wednesday is mostly like a training day at CPAC. So CRs normally get there later. And we thought, yeah, we'll probably get there later too. It turned out to work just fine. And I'll go into that in some detail some more, but I did not watch the debate. I did not have time to.
Well, ironically, this was the only debate that I actually, this was the only, I wouldn't say the only, but this was the only one out of two that I watched. I think I watched like the second one, and then I watched this one because it was like the last primary, and yeah. I wasn't even gonna watch it, but people were like, you kind of should. So like, I kind of got pressured into it. But boy, am I glad I did, because it was it was actually funny, but like, not like haha. It was funny to watch them all beat on each other. So,
Yeah.
but you had the far more interesting experience this week, which was CPAC. Now, for those who are relatively new, might not have listened to the previous episode with Sean, I recommend that you do that. You were on about a month ago. But why were you, first off, had you ever been to CPAC before? And, oh, so this wasn't your first time.
No, this was my first time.
Oh.
Yeah, I was just going like, yeah, I do that a lot. But yeah, so it was my first time. I've never been there before. And I really wanted to go because it was what I've been told. It's a kind of a once in a lifetime experience where, all these conservatives are in one place in America. A lot of big famous people they would just bump into. And I thought, might as well. I've heard that it's also kind of cucky, kind of establishment. So I said, let's find out. Let's see. Maybe it's changed. Maybe not. We'll find out. And, I was just interested. It's a fun thing to do, but also to network and connect with people and tell people about our new organization we're starting here at Penn State, Uncensored America, which is a organization dedicated to protecting, promoting, and educating college students on free speech, something I'm very passionate about, something I love, and I wanted to try it nationally.
So, yeah, so folks, the last time we had Sean on here, for those who haven't necessarily been following the podcast in chronological order, which shame on you, why haven't you, been doing that for the past year? You should, but no, in all seriousness, I think the last time we had you on here, you were planning on going to CPAC, or like you were in the midst of making your reservations, but you hadn't, confirmed. So,
yeah, I think you're right. At the time I was thinking about it, and I finally said, why not do it? And I'm glad I did it. I really am. There were ups and downs, and we'll dive into that, of course. But overall, I was glad I did it. It is definitely something worth doing once. I may want to do it again. I don't know, but it's something that if you are right wing, if you're conservative, if you love Trump, if you love politics, you're really into shit, definitely go. It's an experience. It's something else. Just do it, maybe even for just a day. And it was really cool.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I haven't been to DC in a long time, but I've
never been to DC ever. I want to make that clear too. I've never been to Washington D.C. I drove through there once to go to what's it called? Not Gettysburg. The thing in Virginia. I can't believe I'm forgetting it. I'm getting tired. That's probably why. But it's something. Crap. What's it called? Where it's like an old village, big like town in Virginia. I'll find it. So I don't look like a bigger idiot.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been to DC since I was, I think, like 10 or 11, and I mean that was mind blowing back then. And it's probably time that I go back, just because like I'm a lot older too. But yeah, I mean, so also part of the experience was getting there too for you then. So that must have been cool. So I guess I mean, I'll just kind of let you start off, free range. There's a lot to cover. So I guess like, so I guess just like, I don't really know where to start, obviously. So I guess, so I guess starting off, like, I guess what were like your first impressions?
Sure. And it was Williamsburg, by the way. That was the burg I was trying to think of. So what I can say for first impression, I think a good way to break this down, what we can do is go day by day, because each day is kind of a chapter in this novel here that is CPAC. So first day when we went down was the Wednesday. I actually didn't go into the convention that day. We drove down, and the first thing we did was go to Trump Hotel International in D.C. We started it off with Trump, and I have to say, if you've never been to this hotel, it's in the old post office. It was renovated, turned into a Trump hotel. It is a must-see attraction in D.C. It is unbelievably beautiful. When you walk into that, first when you walk up to it, you can't miss it because it has this giant clock tower on it. And when you walk in, first, there's the limos pulling in, all the rich cars coming in, and there's valet parking. They hold the doors open for you, and you walk in. There's like this little kind of small hallway. After through doors, there's like a horizontal hallway. And then once you go past that is the main lobby, the main big attraction. And when you walk in there, I forgot to film. Actually, I was thinking about filming my first impression because I wanted to see, it on film. But I ended up not doing it because I didn't know what the filming policy was like there. So I walk in and my jaw just dropped. It was gorgeous. It is the most beautiful hotel I've ever seen. It is unbelievable. And I've been to a lot of hotels. I've traveled a lot of places across the country. I've traveled to Michigan, Utah, Arizona, California, Seattle, a whole bunch of places. Never seen a hotel this unbelievably beautiful because it's got this big glass sort of ceiling, at the top of it where the sun's coming through. I mean, it was a little darker at this point and it actually started to rain. And I had my MAGA hat on and my suit and everything because we thought we were going to be going to CPAC, or we thought we were going to – there was also the after party we're going to go to, which is really fun. I'm going to tell you guys about. But
I'll ask you about that too. So.
Oh, absolutely. That is – I'm saying it's going to take a bit, so I'm going to try and run through as much as I can. But Trump Hotel, though, like you walk in, there's all these people sitting down, and it's got music playing. It's very airy. It's just got a beautiful, nice atmosphere. It makes you feel like that not only is this an expensive hotel, but it's just a wonderful place to be. It's a warm, welcoming, nice, just totally cool experience. It is something like I've never felt before. I was just – literally, when I walked in, my girlfriend and I walked in, I literally went, oh, my God. Oh, my God. I was just like that. I was just so shocked. I was so in awe at the beauty of it. I mean, I can't emphasize enough how breathtaking it is. And we walked around, took some pictures, and then we walked out. When my girlfriend didn't want to leave, she wanted to stay there. And I was like, we're going to stay in this place one day. We both looked at each other like, we're going to get enough money one day. We're going to stay in this place. This is just unbelievable. Yeah. And so we went in the rain, so we went back to the car. Yep.
Yeah, that it's funny that you mentioned that and the architecture of the Trump Hotel, because that's actually how I felt when I was in New York City the last time, which was actually in 2016. It was it was like in the early summer of 2016. So I think at that point it had just become like it was down to Trump and Cruz for the primary. Like it was between those two, and like at that point everyone knew it was going to be Trump, right? As the nominee. So I was with my mom, and she like decided she was going to go shopping somewhere, and we were right by Trump Tower, so I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna stop in to Trump Tower because who knows, this Trump might actually be president, and I've never been in here before, and this will probably be the last time I get to see it before it becomes like heavily guarded and whatnot.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I was right, because now, from what I've been told from friends that live in New York City, you can't even get onto that block anymore without like Secret Service and like full-bodied SWAT,
Oh, really?
yeah, like that whole I forget exactly where I forget the address of Trump Tower, but like that whole block in Manhattan is now like under heavy surveillance.
Oh,
Obviously. But yeah, I went into Trump Tower and I was like even, seeing it like on The Apprentice and, even like seeing it in media. There are two places in New York City that have always, kind of captured my eye, not to get on a tangent, but one is Grand Central Station and the other is Trump Tower. Like those two
yeah.
buildings have just always like taken my breath away.
Yeah. And it's one thing too, like to see it in pictures, but when you see it in person, it's just something else. So if you love Trump Tower, you're gonna love Trump International Hotel in D.C. It's that same level. I don't know if it's better or just as good or whatever. I don't even think that fucking matters. It's still an amazing, beautiful sight that you just gotta see it. So that's how we started off. That's how this trip started off. And then during the night, right after that, we had to get on over to a particular after party I found out about just, not too long before. I think the day before I found out about it. And that's the thing with CPAC. You have your regular convention, but then all these other people hold their own event or their own after parties, whatever it is, with their own speaking events and whatnot. So I headed over to the National Files Emergency First Amendment Summit because it was featuring Alex Jones, Gavin McInnes, Owen Schroyer, and a few other people that Rob Dew spoke for a bit, but I don't think he was on the speaking list. And later they add Nick Fuentes. And everyone knows I'm not a fan of Nick Fuentes, but I was still interested to see him and see what he had to say.
Yeah, so I actually watched part of that stream when Gavin came on because one of the Discords I'm in.
Yeah.
It's no secret that I'm actually, kind of in that community. So we watched it. I got to see part of Alec, but see, I had no idea that you were there until you told me afterwards. So I was, in fact, I was actually thinking, I'm like, Sean's probably in Philly, watching this on YouTube too, and like, little did I know. But
there. I actually got on camera too because when we got there, you walk in and there's like a bunch of. Here's the other good thing: it was free. That event was free, and you had free food and a free open bar. I don't drink, but my girlfriend did, so she liked that. So we got there, grabbed a bit of the appetizers, because that's all there really was. Just sort of like hand-picked food, that you just sort of grab. And then she got a drink, and we went in. We saw Alex walk in, and I guess he started speaking immediately, because I was like, we better check, see if he started speaking soon. And he was already speaking. And when you can, on one part in the feed, you can see us on the camera, the back of our heads, as we walk down the middle aisle and sit down.
Wow, that's cool. Also, you don't drink?
Did I not tell you that? I made a confession there. Yeah, I do not. That's the only thing Fuentes and I have in common.
I don't trust I don't trust alcoholics, but I also don't trust people who don't drink either.
Well, okay, here.
That's
I also I will, I'm cool with when you cook with alcohol and you put it in it to make the flavors better. So that works. That good compromise.
I'm gonna, you know what? You come down to Florida, I'll take you to a nice, tavern here. So.
I probably will visit down there someday.
Or you know what? At the very latest, when you come down here, I'll get you a nice box of cigars. So although
I don't smoke.
Oh, what? You don't?
I know I'm such a degenerate. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I know.
I don't do drugs either. So, but
did, but I want to make it clear to everyone because then somebody's gonna be like, "Oh, I bet he does like weed or something. Looks like a pothead," which I've gotten before, but no, I do not.
I've smoked. I will confess, like I've smoked weed twice. Just
fuck you, up degenerate. I knew it.
Oh yeah. I'm a bad boy, so to speak. But no, in all seriousness, I've smoked weed twice. Doesn't really do anything for me. So I'm like,
I've heard that from enough people that it just. I already had no interest, and now, like after hearing that from so many people, I'm just like, I really have zero Zippo interest. And after I smelled it for the first time, God, it smells awful.
Yeah,
terrible.
Yeah, it does. Well, I was like, so honestly, like I'm like, so when I tried it like the first time, I was like, okay, so like this is what it's all about, like cool, but like I was like, doesn't like I didn't have like a bad reaction, but I also wasn't like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever. I was kind of like, I will say this, it made me feel like a lot calmer, but like that's because my brain, especially because it probably was after like 2016, so like my brain is just like constantly, going and thinking about things. But no, anyway, so now
speaking of Alex Jones,
yeah, speaking of minds that constantly are buzz.
I just think of all the Joe Rogans when he like fucking smoked weed and drank. But yeah. So speaking of that though, seriously though, yeah, we saw Alex's speech and he was getting all fired up, and I was like, oh my god, Alex Jones, this is fucking funny. This is crazy. This is awesome. And he brought up Owen Schroyer, Rob Dew, a bunch of other people. And by the way, I will say, and I'll say it's probably again later, the InfoWars crew are awesome, fun, cool, funny people. They are like a family. They're fantastic. Say what you will about InfoWars or whatever. I don't give a shit. The people that work for it, though, are just cool people. They're great. They're awesome. They're really lovely people to be around. They're just so like, you'd want them as neighbors. They're just fantastic. Or maybe you would.
That's what I've heard. And like. Yeah. And honestly, even though he's not part of the InfoWars team, like Joe, like I have to admit, I love Joe Biggs.
Yeah, because I think it's for TV. But when I say you wouldn't want them as neighbors, I meant that there might be protests out there every day that you have to deal with.
Well,
but the thing is, though, they didn't. I think they had some sort of security there, and there were no protesters there. There was nothing, and they made the event location pretty public, but hard as shit parking at it. Oh my god, it was at this hotel. It was raining, it was dark. My girlfriend and I, DC, this is the thing about DC, I don't know where to fucking park in that place. There are all these signs, they're like, you can park here for this amount of time, but right next to it, you can't park there. It's so fucking weird. It's like literally certain spots where you can park and then right next to it where you can't. And the fucking signs make no sense. They'll say 2-hour parking. I'm like, well, does that mean I can only, and it says from like 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So I'm like, can I not park for 2 hours after this? Or is it free? Is it unlimited? Like, what's the deal? Am I going to get towed? So we asked, thankfully, there were 2 people walking by, and I checked with both of them to be sure. And they said that, like, yeah, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. You can park there. And I thought, yeah, I guess they're right. It made me nervous because it's a new town, and it's my girlfriend's car that I was driving. So didn't want to fuck that up. But we found a parking spot somewhat close to it. It was like actually a good spot. We lucked out because somebody was, like, pulling out or something. So we got that, but holy shit, that was my 2 biggest hates about DC, or 3 biggest. I'm already moving up there. 1, the swampiness. 2, expensive. Everything's fucking expensive. The food, just outrageous. And parking sucks. Is terrible. You can find it. It is there, but you just don't know if you can park there half the time. Because we parked for the Trump Hotel. We had to walk quite a ways. But back to the event, though. Alex did an awesome speech. Owen Schroyer was he was cool. I hadn't seen Owen a bit before. I've obviously seen a lot of Alex. I've seen Owen a little bit. Got to see a lot of him during this event, which I'll get into. But Gavin's speech was fucking hilarious. It starts off with him doing a skit. Of course, he always does this with his speeches. He's like getting up and he trips and falls. And at first I was like, oh shit, Gavin fell. I was like, no, it's a fucking joke. I know Gavin. And Alex goes like pretending to beat him up. And he comes up and he's like reading the bottom, like part of his speech, the conclusion. And that was funny. And then this is the best part, and this is important later. So remember this. Then his assistant Ryan comes up and pretends to give him some Coke, and Gavin does it. And then he has a beer with him. And so then he gets fired up. His speech was fucking hilarious. It was killer good. I think he winged it. I think he did off the cuff, but it was fantastic. He's such a talented, funny guy. Love the guy. I mean, I really have loved him before, but I really love him after seeing him in person. And I was fanboying, fangirling, whatever you want to call it, like seeing him there. So that was cool. And after, Nick Fuentes spoke too. And, he was all right. I mean, I agree with him on quite a few things, but there's just some things he could do.
I love how you go how you talk Alex and Gavin, and then it's like, oh yeah, Nick Fuentes spoke too. So
yeah. Well, because you see, here's the thing. There were about, I'd say, at least 100 people in that room. It may have been more. I didn't count too well. There was a good showing, and there were some groypers there. They were pretty silent through all the other speakers. When Gavin spoke, there was definitely a lot more energy. When Alex spoke, there was a lot of energy. When Nick spoke, the groypers were pretty vocal.
Oh, yeah.
Then they do this everywhere. They're a small but vocal group. But again, that was a fantastic event. It was my first impression of this whole CPAC experience. Not even at CPAC yet. And I loved this event. It was fun. It was great. It was free. Thanks to National File. They did an amazing job. And thank you to Alex, too, and the InfoWars crew. And it was just a fun event. Loved it. And that was my first impression. I said to my girlfriend, I was like, this will probably be my favorite part. Turned out not to be. It was one of my favorite parts, not the favorite part. I don't have the favorite part, actually. That's the cool thing, was it was one of my favorite parts. Amazing way to start off. Loved it. No regrets. Just absolutely loved it. And at the end of it, I got to meet Ryan quickly. He was totally cool, normal dude, like just totally cool. And, we had a quick conversation. I didn't want to keep people for long. And then finally got to meet the G-Man himself. And he was typical Gavin. I mean, he said during his speech he hates selfies, and I already knew that before he said that. So when I went up to him, I shook his head. I said, hey, thanks, Gavin, and don't worry, I don't want a selfie. Like, I want to make that clear to get on his good side. But he was already taking selfies. That was a funny thing. He bitches about selfies, but he was taking them, making funny faces. So I shook his hand. And I mentioned that we brought Sargon Vakar, and the liberals through there, made big shit about it, because I forget something he said or I said, but we had a little back and forth. At one point, he couldn't hear what I was saying. He was like, what'd you say? And I was trying to say I forget even what I was fucking saying, but it doesn't matter. But I was trying to say something, he didn't understand what I was saying. It was probably my fault, because I was tired. Long day, drove 4 hours, so my speech wasn't the best. After talking in the car for that whole time and talking to my girlfriend the whole time, going to Trump Hotel, all that shit. So he was fantastic. He's just Gavin. Like he's so authentic and just blunt. He's kind of that tough love sort of dad, if you know what I mean, where he'll just like throw you in the pool and be like, all right, son, sink or swim. But if you actually start drown, you can't swim, he'll like be like, oh shit, I better save my kid. Oh no. He's that kind of type. He won't just throw you in a pool and like, if you drown, you fucking drown. Yeah. And he's still got that, tough love in him. That's kind of my vibes from him. I really do. Like he is exactly what he is on camera. Like the same dude. It was awesome. And then we went back to our Leadership Institute dorm. That's where we stayed. Thank you, LI, for providing that. Best deal. Cheaper to go through them than anybody else. It was $20 less than a CPAC student ticket, and they gave you the dorm to stay in. Great deal. That was one.
I should have gone with them if I was going to, and so
I sent you the link. I remember. I think you saw it, but if you do plan on going again, go through them or going at some point. I'm talking about myself, I guess, accidentally there. But if you do ever plan on going, go through them.
We definitely should. Also, I've got to drop the dime on one of your professors, or one of your assistant professors, I should say.
Yeah.
Your teacher, Jeff Hamill, used to be a conservative, and he actually went to CPAC a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Cool.
So, hi Jeff. I know you're watching and or listening to this. So,
Hi.
yeah. But anyway, so yeah, from what I've heard, the kind of like the extracurricular events, I guess, as they call them, are, interesting as well. Now,
Oh yeah.
do they still have CPAC at like the Gaylord Hotel?
Yeah, it is. CPAC is at the best named hotel in the world, the Gaylord Hotel. You need to change that fucking name. I'm sorry. It's just actually don't change it because it's just hilarious now. But
Yeah, and I wasn't even thinking of it like that. But yeah, as soon as I said, I was kind of like tee hee. So,
oh, you can make so many jokes. Like when my one friend went with CR, it was like years ago. They stuffed like 12 guys in a room because it's fucking expensive, and rooms were limited, and he said, yeah, it lived up to its name. So, it is at the Gaylord, which is in Maryland, National Harbor, Maryland, which is a cute, beautiful little town, I have to say. And we ate every night. It was funny because it's so fucking cold. I mean, the wind there, because you're right on the water, the wind is brutal. It's probably the most brutally cold wind I've ever felt. So what we did when we ate there, we went to the closest and cheapest restaurant we could find. So I found I think it's the Brass Tap. I'm going to check that because they were such a nice restaurant, like nice people working there. They were just really wholesome, and the food was fantastic, and it was affordable for DC area. It was great. So we just kind of would walk over there, which was only like a block away. But on the second day, that was our first, time at CPAC. That's when Pence was speaking. I'm not a big Pence guy. Like he's cool. I love him. Just doesn't do a lot for me. Not something I get excited about. So after the exhausting and draining first day, that's something I want to make clear to people. If you're going to drive down, the first day, it's going to be exhausting. We slept a little later and missed Pence, kind of. We thought, okay, Pence going to speak at 10 a.m. We'll leave then, and things should be clear by then because security, Secret Service closed down the roads 2 hours before he spoke. So you couldn't get in to the Gaylord. Like you literally couldn't drive to it and get dropped off there. We used Ubers because that was the most convenient. But we Ubered up there. And we still couldn't get in. It was like an hour after he was done speaking, I think, or 30 minutes. He was supposed to speak at 10, and his speech was supposed to only be like 20 minutes. It was like close to 11:30. I forget what it was. And the roads were still closed. So we had to literally get out of our Uber about a half mile from there, walk over from the highway that was closed down, walk through the entire town, get to the Gaylord. And even when we got there, we registered. You couldn't even get into the convention hall because they shut it down for Pence. So we're sitting there waiting, just sitting there. And I'm like, God, I feel like I'm wasting time. Like looking at my phone, like just sitting there. I'm like, maybe I should start talking to people. My girlfriend went to get something or I don't remember what she did. She went to the bathroom, and it had been a while. It's like, man, what's taking her so long? She shouldn't take this long. I mean, she takes a long time, not this long. So I started walking over, start looking around, maybe look for her. And I look over and I see a girl in a pink dress with a microphone in front of my girlfriend's face. I'm like, wait, what's this? And I see it's an InfoWars mic. and my girlfriend is being interviewed by Millie Weaver from InfoWars.
So your girlfriend, my future wife, then. Very cool. So,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I was like, holy shit! Oh my god, I'm so proud of you. So I go over there, and I see her, talking to Millie. I'm like, holy shit, she's on fucking InfoWars. I'm taking pictures, and the interview ends, and Millie's like, hi, and I'm like, it's my girlfriend. So And she's like, you want to do an interview? I was like, yeah, sure. And she asked me a few questions too. So we were both on InfoWars right there. First fucking few minutes at CPAC on InfoWars. It's crazy.
oh geez, you should be glad I wasn't with you because my first question, because if she had asked me, I would have been like, can I interview you? So,
Yeah, and I had my GoPro and my shit. I didn't end up filming anyone for our show. I got some footage though, but that was really cool. I gotta find that and see if they made a video of that or anything, because they were pre-recording, so I don't know if that's actually on any of their videos. I should check, but you can check that on Band.video. But that was really fucking cool, and that was the first thing that happened at CPAC for us. And so finally, we waited like an hour, so we finally got in. It was afternoon. We got food. By the way, food in Gaylord is utter shit. Their food is terrible. It is overpriced. It is bland. It is the most basic food ever. We got burgers, $10 for a fucking burger with no cheese, no toppings, no nothing. It's just a bun and a patty. That's it. $10.
So
you can get.
Oh yeah. Can continue on.
Sorry, I'm ranting about the food.
No problem. I've kind of a comment and question after you're done about that.
Yeah, so that fucking was bullshit. The water was $4. Any other beverage, the burger was the cheapest fucking thing. Everything else, the salads, the sandwiches were like $16, $18. I'm like, the problem is you either eat there, you eat at this, because the resort kind of has this sort of fake town, mini town, indoor town setup. And you could go to those, but the lines were too long. We tried, lines were way too long, 30-minute wait. You don't have time to do that, and that's probably expensive too. So we had to do that, and it was what it is. It wasn't the worst thing, but we were starving, so we had to eat, because we had to eat real quickly. Good thing I brought Cheers to get on with it. So that was really fucking overpriced and just ridiculous.
So to kind of compare and contrast a bit, so I think you and I knew each other at this point. In fact, I know because we had talked about it. But I was, but earlier this past summer, I went to Memphis. Tennessee, with some of my buddies for YaleCon, which is basically like the libertarian equivalent of CPAC, and it's just, so first off, I have to ask you, was this your first big political convention that you'd?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is one I've really been to ever.
This was my second, my third, because the first two conventions I went to were back in high school when I went to the Western Conservative Summit in Colorado, which that's a great convention, by the way. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you more about that off air. But when I was at YaleCon, I had a similar experience. The lodging that they put us up in, no disrespect to the people who run that part of Yale. I mean, they did the best they could, but still, it was right by the airport in Memphis. So it was
loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was also old, the hotel. So it wasn't. It was kind of like the Gaylord, but less nice. They basically put us in at a Marriott. Well, no, it wasn't even a Marriott. They put us in at a Hilton in suites. So like it was kind of like an economy hotel basically. And then the one thing cough button.
Yeah, I turned off the mic there. I'm such a pro at this now. I know to do that.
So am I. I can just do sneeze, but
yeah, there you go. So you know you're the shit at this now.
But anyway, yeah. So basically, the food at YaleCon was like none of these conventions have very good food, and yeah, it was overpriced as well, and the seating was horrible. But yeah, I mean, I see you're talking how expensive the food is, and I'm like, that's pretty much par for the course at these conventions, I think. But
kind of is the thing with all these. And the thing too is we saw Trump Hotel before the Gaylord, and the Gaylord is a massive hotel. I mean, absolutely massive. It's made for these conventions.
Oh yeah.
It didn't me though. It did not impress me that much. Trump Hotel, even though it's smaller, impressed me a hell of a lot more. And it's because of the beauty of it and the fanciness of it. The Gaylord isn't that fancy. It's actually kind of, when you look at it, the details of it, it's I don't want to say cheap, but you can tell it's kind of the fake fancy, if you know what I mean, where it's like trying to look, but it really isn't.
Oh yeah. No, I've been to those hotels, so yeah, I mean I've been to those hotels where it's like fancy, but it's actually like the Marriott down the street is actually nicer than this, or something like that. But
yeah.
But at any rate, so yeah, I mean, obviously it sounds like the food and the fare was about to be expected, which was mediocre. As someone who has done this a few times.
And I brought peanut butter and jelly and like bread, because we were planning on making sandwiches and packing them to bring with us, but I didn't know if they allowed bags. And I still don't really know if they allow bags, because I didn't see anyone with one, but they give you tote bags in the convention so you can like pick shit up. So maybe I should have done it, but whatever,
See,
we did.
See, you're responsible. Me and my buddies were like, well, what do we need to bring? Oh, we're gonna stop by the convenience store, and what do we need? Beef jerky, Slim Jims, beer, more beer, more beer, and then cigarettes for the one guy who smoked. So yeah, you guys are being responsible, and we were just all degenerates. So
we were just being poor ass college students. I mean, that was like, I should check you on this, but I think the Lyfts and the Ubers would cost the most, other than, probably was the biggest cost. But because that's the other thing, figure out the fucking metro and the bus system. Nobody knew how the fuck you get on the bus, how the fuck you get on the metro, how the fuck you use the CPAC show. Nobody fucking knew. I had no way to find out. Nobody told us shit. The CPAC site didn't tell you shit. So I finally found out you had to take a bus to get to the metro, or you walked, and then you had to go on to like another bus or another metro. It made no sense. It was too complicated. We didn't have the time for it, so we just Ubered there. That's the best way to do it, but depending on the time and the traffic, the Ubers and Lyfts can be quite pricey, so we would have to wait a few minutes to see if it went down. But once we got to the convention, though, we walked around for a bit, and I was waiting for the Jacob Wohl press conference that was going to be at noon. It got moved back a bit, and that was where Jacob Wohl was going to drop some documents on the Roger Stone trial, and a bunch of other things. So I went there, and I saw Jacob. I interviewed him on our show on Versa Media, Real News. We interviewed him, so you can check that out on our channel, of course. And selfless plug right there. And so I had trouble finding him at first. When I found him, I went up there and I saw him giving his little press conference. It was a decent crowd around, about like 15 people. And Jared Holt was there and Will Summer, two far left reporters. One of them's Antifa, to my knowledge, or as Antifa ties. And I saw Gavin McInnes there. I was like, oh shit, it's Gavin again. And Ryan was there and they were filming. And I then see Gavin, because I came kind of right at the little after it started. And I hear Gavin just say, and you're a fucking liar. And I'm like, oh shit, what's going on? So if you follow Gavin, you'll know what went down with that. And it was some bullshit. But the TLDR is
I wanted to ask you about that actually.
Yeah.
So because I saw it a little bit, but I was kind of out of the loop. So for people who didn't even see what happened, what went down, and what did you see as like an eye on the ground? That's what I'm curious about too.
Like I said, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't see a lot of it going down at first, because I was listening to Jacob and I was hard finding it, so I got there a little later. But from what I did see, this reporter was going after Gavin big time, and we were there, and I saw something. What's going on with that? And then as everybody's starting to, because the press conference ended, and Gavin did an interview, I think, with Project Veritas or somebody, and as everybody was starting to leave, Gavin interviewed Jacob. Sorry, Gavin interviewed Jacob, and everybody was starting to leave, and I see these two big, hotel employees there, and I'm like, oh, that looks like some serious business right there. And Jacob was talking to this one woman that was asking to do an interview, and he's like, all right, let's walk and talk. And he's walking in, as the employee comes up to him and goes, so, ma'am, are you with these guys? And she's like, no, I'm just asking questions. And I'm like, wait, what the hell's going on? Like, what's going on here? And then I'm walking away because I thought they were just, security watching to make sure nothing got out of hand. So I'm like, this is a little weird, but I'm walking. And, I walked away for a bit, and I was like, maybe I'll go back to see what's going on, like see if I can give Gavin my card or something. And I then see, a bunch of, Gavin, like, I think he had like his phone up, and the security guard dude had some papers blocking. I'm like, oh, some shit's going down. So I pulled over there, and I'm watching Jacob Wohl and Gavin McInnes getting kicked out of the fucking convention. I mean, they weren't even technically in the convention too. Wow. They were just in the hotel lobby. That's a key important detail nobody's mentioning in this whole thing. Yes, Gavin and Jacob got kicked out of CPAC, but they were just in the lobby of the hotel. Gavin did have a badge that had him as an attendee of CPAC. Jacob did not, and that could be the reason he was kicked out. I'm not sure about that. I could be totally wrong. He could have had it on him, and I just didn't see it. But what Gavin said, and this seems to be 100% true, I didn't see what this one report claimed happened, but this one report claimed that Gavin threatened to beat him up. I didn't see that at all. That never fucking happened. And, then that guy must have called security to get them booted out. And that's what Gavin says happened. That's what looks like happened. Gavin has this all on video, so the proof is right there. But they got kicked out for bullshit reasons. It was so stupid. And I took a picture of it, and then Jack Posobiec, who we also had on the show on Real News, was nice enough to retweet it, and it blew up our tweet on that. It was such total bullshit that they kicked out a conservative, a Trump supporter, a guy that fought to get the man we love in office, and they kicked him out. They kicked out Jacob. I don't even know why they kicked out Jacob. Gavin threatened no one. Jacob didn't do shit. He just stood there in the hotel lobby. Even if he wasn't a CPAC attendee, even if he was in the hotel lobby, which there's so many hotels, the Trump hotels this way, a lot of hotels, you can just fucking walk in. It's like, I mean, theoretically, they could kick you out of that if they wanted to, but it's the lobby. And it was absolutely ridiculous. I don't know why they kicked them out. Well, it was total bullshit. The only thing I think of is that they believe that guy's empty threats, which is ridiculous. They should have, at least heard the other side.
Well, here's the thing, though, that really kind of irks me with CPAC, just in general, and this is why I really, I mean, honestly, like I might go again now, but like
After here.
honestly, for what I was really gung ho to go to CPAC, and then I kind of lost my desire to go because 3 years ago was when, like, right after Trump got elected, was when they were going to have Milo speak at CPAC, and
then they invited him,
and then they disinvited him because somehow someone found his interview with the drunken peasants, which I had seen that interview when it came out, and I was kind of like, okay, well, it's and they made the whole thing about Milo, I'm like he obviously wasn't serious, and do these people not know who the drunken peasants are? And also when you have Bill Ahoy Crystal as one of your as one of your people leading the CPAC board, I don't trust him. By the way, every time, what did you see Bill Crystal there?
I might have. I don't know. Here's the thing about CPAC. When you walk around the halls of CPAC, you are seeing famous people left and right. Literally on the third day, I was walking in, and the first person I saw was Rick Harrison from Pawn Stars. And I was like, holy shit, it's Rick Harrison. But you get so used to it that it's kind of just like, oh, that's Rick Harrison. Oh shit, there's Can't Sounds. Oh, okay. It's like it kind of doesn't hit you as hard because you get used to it. But it's still really fucking cool seeing all these famous people. And I didn't bother most of them. It was just kind of cool to see them alone. But I did bother a few of them, which we'll talk about. But
you probably bumped into a few people that I actually know personally, but haven't told you. So
that'd be fun to find out. But what also happened
real quick shout out to Larry O'Connor of WMAL and former Breitbart editor at large. So
wow, impressive. So what we did after that is we started going to the CPAC Central, which was where all the booths were, and then we also went to the media row, which is where all the press people were with their little booths set up. And when we went up to the media row, there's a big crowd there. I'm like, what's going on? I go over there, and who's there? Alex fucking Jones. Alex Jones crashed CPAC. It was fabulous. He was, interviewing Bolsonaro's son. And then who do I see there is Laura Loomer. I actually got to talk to Laura Loomer. I shook her hand. I gave her my card. She was very cool, very nice. I really liked her. And Alex was there taking selfies and whatnot. He had some security there. Some muscle was guarding him. But they went around the media row, and it was fucking funny. It was great. And then he got out there at some point. But Alex Jones crashed, and it was fantastic. And then when we went to CPAC Central for all the vendors and booths. Who do I see at one of the company's booths is Owen Schroyer sitting down with a camera and mic interviewing people. Owen Schroyer for InfoWars. And so I was there for a while. And across from me was the Walk Away booth. And Brandon Straka was going to come in a few hours. So I came back. I got to meet Brandon Straka from Walk Away. Super nice guy. Super normal. Super cool. I loved him. Shook his hand, gave him my business card, and we chatted for a bit. But he's a really cool dude. I'm gonna probably get him on the radio show soon because I just really liked him. I wanted to get him on for a while, and so saw him, and I saw Owen's assistant too. I forget her name. I think it's Savannah, and she was very nice. And you could tell Owen was just having a blast there. Like, he's a very talented radio host, by the way, very talented speaker. He can just go and go and go in a very entertaining, cool, confident way. So that was really cool. And that was our whole day, basically, for day two. Day two was probably the busiest day, I was bang, 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 talking to people, talking to famous people, left and right, boom, boom, boom. I made a list of all the people I just saw that day. I saw Laura Loomer, Scott Presler, who I also got to meet, shake his hand, give him my card, and all that jazz.
I love Scott. I haven't met him in person, but I've followed him on social for years, and he seems like a super. I'm friends with him on Facebook, but like, you know, he's friends with everyone. I haven't really talked to him, but he seems like a great guy. So.
Oh, he is. Yeah, he was really nice. Really gentle, cool guy. So I got to talk to him. He was at the media row. He was just meeting people, and I said hi to him. Owen Shroyer, of course, Alex Jones. I saw Jaden McNeil, one of the Groyper people. We'll get into that in a bit. Because I didn't at first recognize some of these Groypers, but I did see Jaden. He was at one of the after parties. I also saw at the after party, because there was a second National File after party for Alex Jones's crew. Alex was not at that one, but Owen Shroyer was at it. Gavin McInnes was at it again. Jaden McNeil was there. Nick Fuentes was there. Wherever Nick went, the Groypers followed.
Of course.
Like literally. Yeah. And what was crazy was all of the Groypers, or a lot of them that you would see at these university stops that Charlie was doing, and they would ask questions, were at this fucking event. I recognized a few of them. Patrick Casey was there. The guy that used to run Identity Europa and asked one of the questions at, the Groyp Charlie at one point. He was there. I didn't quite recognize him at first, but he was in this crew. Jaden McNeil was there. One of them that I actually did talk to was one of the ones that asked Dan Crenshaw a question on some radio show or something.
Oh, yeah.
I forget what it was about. So I experienced a Groyper. I've already experienced them a lot, but I got to experience one of these type. Gavin McInnes was there. Rob Dew. I actually got on his live stream during the event, because you come in and you can. It was again another free event, open bar, food. This one actually had more food, but we'd already eaten before this. But it was still cool. And they eventually started doing speakers. Gavin's speech was fucking hilarious. If you have not seen this one, you have to, Sam.
Wait, so
he literally started off. Yeah.
Wait, so this is another speech that Gavin did in addition to the one at the. Oh, interesting.
And the great thing was it was totally different. Like, he didn't just regurgitate the same speech. It was a totally different one. I'll find the link. This one was trickier to find. And I recorded most of it. At first, when I saw him, I was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, shit, I should be recording this. It's Gavin. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that. But he literally starts off his speech with, we have a lot of people here, conservatives, right-wingers, the Groypers. And, I hear the Groypers, and they're all talking about how we give too much money to Israel. But you guys get too little pussy. You guys need to get laid. That is how he started it. And he just went on and on and on. He's like, you guys need to stop worrying about foreign policy and start worrying about getting laid. It was so fucking funny.
Yeah.
I mean, my girlfriend had never experienced really Gavin before. I played her a few things by him, like his TED Talk and a thing he gave about like relationships. And this was her first time like really sitting down and listening to him. She was like loving it. She loved him. It was her favorite.
Your girlfriend, you mean?
Speaker.
What
about her?
This was your girlfriend's first experience with Gavin? Ah, interesting.
Yeah, I only played her a few things before, like his TED Talk and something else, but this is her first time like fully experiencing the Gavin McInnes experience. And she was like, it was kind of like she likes that sort of shock, edgy humor. And she was like real, like after the first like, so she was laughing a lot and she was really getting a rise out of it. And the second one, she really got, I was like, this is why I love this man. It was just so good. He was killer. And so when Rob Dew was coming around, he had this like live stream camera going around. He was coming around. Rob Dew's such a nice guy, by the way. He's so cool. Like, I could just shoot the shit with him forever, it feels like. And he came up to me with the camera, so I was like, ooh, he got me. He was like, so what'd you think? What was your favorite speaker? I was like, yeah, it was Gavin. I love Gavin, no homo. And he laughed at that. And when Gavin got on the stage, the guy who organized the event, he literally, this is fucking Gavin for you. Oh, he'd get away with this. He literally went down and grabbed the guy's crotch as a joke. Like he went and like grabbed it some way. He's like, grab him by the poofy. I don't know if he really touched it or whatever, but you can analyze that. But he said, would you grab his crotch? And I was like, no, I don't want to Me Too, Gavin. So
guys,
yeah.
Gavin McInnes is gay. He grabbed.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
Sorry, folks. I couldn't. I keep promising I'll try not to do an Owen Benjamin impression, but it just came out still.
It's not just Owen. It's a lot of these groypers. Like they think Gavin's like gay or does gay shit, and they don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm
like Gavin, frat boy. In many ways, he's just a frat boy having fun. Okay, whatever. People take him too seriously. Look, that fucking reporter. This is what I forgot to mention. I was telling people to remember. That fucking reporter at the Jacob Wall press conference was like, "Oh, Gavin, I saw you do coke last night." And Gavin's like, yeah, sure you did. And it was on camera too. There were a bunch of cameras. And Gavin's like, oh fuck, like, dude, don't you get the joke? Because there were fucking cameras there. So. Yeah.
Yeah.
People don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's the same thing with Rush, like with Rush Limbaugh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Alex Jones.
I always have to clarify because people always think I talk about the band, which the band Rush is awesome too. Rest in peace, Neil Peart. But no, Rush Limbaugh is the. I mean. I think it's pretty safe to say that Gavin is to you as Rush is to me, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's
Milo for me, actually. I don't want to rank people or pick favorites, but I would say the people that have had the most impact on me, the three biggest people, would be Donald Trump, Scott Adams, and Milo Yiannopoulos. And Gavin's a close. He would, if I had to put a fourth, and I'd put Gavin. Then probably some other people I can think of.
Really, Scott Adams.
Yeah. Scott Adams changed the way I thought about a lot of things. I think we mentioned this on that first interview we did with you. I really dived into that because he really changed my perspectives on persuasion, emotions, politics, how the brain works, how people really work. Totally changed my mind. But in terms of like comedy, I would obviously have to take Scott Adams out and put Gavin in there. Your political comedy.
Yeah, but do yourself a favor, my friend, and read the Dilbert Daily strips because they are funny. If you.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it's not funny. It's just Gavin's more my style.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah. So at that after party, again, this is the thing. All these people were at this after party, hanging out, having drinks, chatting with people. I almost got a chance to chat with Gavin again, but it was like right before he was about to speak. I know, so I was like, I shouldn't bother him. But the other people that were there, one I didn't even recognize was one of the Groypers mentioned, but Stephanie Hansen, who's one of those like e-girls in the Groyper movement that they kind of like fantasize about. Like I'm not even joking when I say that. She was there. Looks different than she does in pictures, we'll say.
I used to be Facebook friends with her before I found out that she was, Groyper-ish. So
yeah. Yeah, I think she's. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm gonna make this prediction. I'm not trying to burn a bridge. I'm not trying to shit on her or anything, but I think some of these Groypers are falling into the Lauren Southern trap, and they're going, "Oh my God, a pretty girl that's right wing," and they're getting hypnotized by it. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, don't place all your eggs in her basket. But she was there. Nick Fuentes was there. I also saw before the event. I forgot to mention, like one of the first people I saw was Raheem Kassam from Breitbart London or Britain, and it was now on the Bannon podcast War Room. OC Bannon, Jason Miller, I think. So I saw Raheem Kassam. And I also saw Matt Schlapp going up an escalator. He's the guy that runs the whole gig. So I saw him. I was like, holy shit, that's Matt Schlapp. So that's all the people I saw. The InfoWars after party, or National File after party. Another awesome party. Got to talk to a lot of people. There's a wide variety of people. They're really cool, fun environment. It's one of the times where I didn't feel nervous in a social environment. I mean, my girlfriend was there at that house, but I could easily go up to people and talk to them. So, I mean, there's sometimes I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I should go in this group. I don't know. But the group was kind of had their own corner where they were all surrounding Nick, and then everybody else was kind of mingling. But that was cool. And I saw Jaden McNeil when we were exiting it. There was literally a girl, like some drunk girl, like came into the, Jaden was outside. We were waiting right before we exited the building in like a sort of lobby thing at the end of the staircase. And Jaden was outside, recognized him. I was like, oh shit, it's Jaden McNeil. And and by the way, he's one of the Groypers guy used to be a Turning Point president somewhere, I think Kansas, and then stepped down. But he was outside, and this girl comes in, and I mean, people remember this after a few drinks. The guys were a little tipsy, and the girls were a little tipsy too, and whatever. She comes in, she goes, "Oh my God, Jaden, I love you," or something like that, or it was one of those like lines where she was kind of just like, "Oh my God, Jaden, huh?" I was like, "Oh my God." And he was just looking at her like, "Oh." Like he didn't know what to think. He's like, what do I do with this girl? And it was just funny seeing that. And I know what he was feeling like. It was kind of just like, what the hell is going on? This girl was just like sort of fangirling over him. And so I grabbed my girlfriend. I'm like, let's get the fuck out of here. This is getting a little. This could get a little out of hand. This scene here. Because there was a lot of guys that drunk quite a bit of alcohol. A lot of Groypers that drink a bit.
Probably.
So I was like, let's get out of here.
Probably took some other substances too. I was going to ask you a question. You kind of ruined my setup though. I was gonna ask. I was gonna ask, how much coke did you do at the after party? But obviously you don't do. You ruined my bit early on, so.
Oh, like Gavin McInnes, Ryan gave me some coke, and I, behind the podium, just went, if anybody knows singing, got my hit in.
Yeah.
If anybody can fucking tell that's a joke, and what Gavin did was a joke.
Yeah, I mean, he's admitted that he used to do,
He's done in the past.
Read The Death of Cool People, or do what I did and get it on Audible if you're like me and like to listen to shit instead of read it.
Yeah.
So,
and last thing I'll mention too was Owen Schroyer. I gained a new level of respect and appreciation, love for him, because during his speech. He's like, I don't know what to talk about. I'm just kind of going to say this and that. I didn't really prepare a speech. And he then he started opening up to Q&A, which was really cool. And he had people coming up. And I got to ask him a question. And I said, like, who do you think is the biggest threat to conservatives, America First, Republicans, right-wingers, movement in general at large, something like that. I think he thought I was a Groyper, even though I'm not. But I was just genuinely curious what he thought the biggest threat was. And I think he said Donald Trump, actually. He said, well, he's done a lot of great things. I love the guy. We can't, Trump can't be the end-all, be-all. We got to find something to continue this legacy. So he gave a good and interesting answer. But very charismatic dude, very cool dude. And he had a great way of handling some of the I guess you could say Groypery questions. Like one guy started asking about, I think he's mentioned something about having European heritage. And Owen had such a great answer. He says, I don't give a damn if my DNA results come out European, Asian, whatever. I'm an American, and he went on this thing because the guy started bringing up race and all kinds of other shit. The guy he clearly had a few in the system, and he was going on about that. And Owen just handled it perfectly. That's how Charlie Kirk should have handled these things, and Owen handled it perfectly on the spot. Again, though, but another great event. the one thing that was odd was when Nick Fuentes spoke, there were a lot of fucking groypers there. They kind of stacked the room.
Yeah, it's
and there were about 50 people at this thing, and they were like 30 of them.
It's a cult, definitely.
It is a,
and I mean, and for people who watch my channel, oh Sam, you say the same thing about Owen Benjamin, yeah, because that's even more of that's even more of a fucking internet cult. And granted, Nick isn't that. Nick is. I want to make something clear.
Nick Owen.
Nick is not as bad as Owen, and in fact, like I even defended Nick and the Groypers when Owen was, saying that he was going to beat up Nick and that the Bears should like start hunting Groypers, and whatnot. All that was, I was like, no, but just because I detest Owen doesn't mean that I think the Groypers are awesome either. So
yeah, and the thing that's weird is like when Nick spoke, they all cheered really loudly and all that. And at one point, this is what surprised me: is one girl clearly did not like Nick, and she took her glass of water and tried to chuck the water at him, and it only got a few feet on the stage. It didn't even touch him. And she then left the building, and Nick just went, bye, no e-girls, bye, bitch. And the way he said it and in the room, I kind of went, oh, God, that was a bit assholey the way he did that.
Yeah, I've got personal stories that, I've heard, so, none that I want to tell on air, obviously, but yeah, I mean, he has his moments where he'll do like really good, and he'll say stuff that like I agree with, but then it's just those little things too where he'll just like spaz out, and I get that he thinks it's comedy, but
it just feels that way. Like when Gavin does shit. Like, during the first event, he told, like, the Groypers literally to shut the fuck up. He's like, what's all the chit-chatting? Guys, shut up, I'm speaking, or something like that. He said something like that. Like, you could tell he was trying to actually quiet them down, but also he was doing it in a jokey way. Like, you could tell. I mean, it's one of those things where you see it, you know it. Yeah. And like him tripping, falling, you knew it was a joke. You knew the coke was a joke. But, Nick just... He can be funny. He can be really smart and funny, but there's just there's too many things where I disagree with him too much, or he goes too. Being against race mixing is just fucking stupid, and he never really substantiates that opinion. When Milo pressed him on, he really didn't have a good answer, but I digress. So that was his thing, and people cheered a lot, but I could tell there were people that were clearly uncomfortable with it. And I don't just mean what he was talking about, but they were uncomfortable with all this sort of culty feeling of all these people just like worshiping him there. And I will give extreme credit to National File and Alex Jones and the InfoWars crew for having him speak, because while I disagree with him strongly on a lot of things, I'm not really a fan of him. It takes a lot of guts to put someone like him up there, to give somebody who's been banned a platform in the name of free speech, in the name of principle, rather than silencing him or disassociating or keeping an arm's length away from him, which I understand why people will do that. But, Alex sticks to his principles. National File people stick to their principles on free speech, and I give them a lot of credit for that. I mean, to guts what they did, and I think it's a good thing because you get to hear what he says, get to make, up your mind about, rather than shutting him down and putting him in an echo chamber. And he gets some resistance. I would have liked maybe a Q&A with him, but they did that at the previous event where people started asking him questions. But his anti-Israel shit just doesn't go well over with most conservatives. I could tell that from the event. Like, there's one woman's whose face was just like utterly like in disgust the whole time. She's like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, what is this kid? Who are these people? Like, she was like absolute shock at what was happening.
Well, yeah, and I mean here's the thing with the whole Israel thing, because I get this a lot, that like from kind of these alt-right things, that like, oh, you're Israel first, or like you're like, if I say I'm pro-Israel, they're like, oh, well you're pro-Israel, and like, what, you must be. I've literally had people accuse me of of being like run by the Mossad, and at this point, like, it's almost like I literally go wrong. I literally go along with, I'm like, yep, I'm a Mossad. I'm a Mossad agent.
Like, we're gonna pick this YouTube channel, no offense, with 600 subscribers,
Right?
and that's the guy that's gonna fucking bring down the white man, the Americans. It's that guy. I mean, do you realize how stupid that sounds?
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna pick the we're gonna pick the crippled, handicapped guy
Yeah.
who has 600 subscribers. We're not even going to really like if I were like in a nice studio or something, like, okay, then I could maybe see that. But
Yeah.
we're not even gonna fund him. He's gonna be in his room, his home studio, as usual. But
I don't know, Sam. You got a new laptop and AirPods recently, and a new mic. Where did all that come from, Sam? Huh? How many shekels?
Oh, that all came from a mix of of family, friends, and ad revenue, because that anchor sponsorship, yeah, that's worth a ton of money. So
Yeah. You tell him. You tell him though. Okay.
I can, at this rate, I'm so rich off advertising money, I can buy myself a 6-pack. That's how rich. That's how rich I am. So,
You fucking Israel shill, you.
yeah, but I mean, in regards to the whole Israel thing, I'm like, look, I don't have a dog in that fight either way. The only thing I've ever said is that when it comes to the whole Israeli, when it comes to the whole Israeli Palestine, conflict, it's not even that so much. It's not Israel versus Palestine, but it's like, what am I more worried about? Am I worried about Jews who wanna, just bank, or am I, which, that's kind of, I'll probably,
That's racist.
Susan Wojcicki will probably ban me for that. Just, am I worried about Jewish bankers, or am I worried about radical Muslims who literally want to blow people up with
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm gonna take the Jewish bankers instead of the suicide bombers. Like, if we're going after stereotypes, we I might as well take the one that doesn't want to kill me. So, but yeah, it's interesting.
I know what you mean. Like, Israel, I don't care about that issue so much. I genuinely don't. I'm not saying that to, oh, you're a cuck, you don't want to take a side. I've said I'm not a fan of Israel, okay? How many times do I have to say to people, like, I don't want to be spending so much money to them, and I think they do some pretty bad things. But yeah, there's more to this. I don't think the Palestinians are all that great either, and Israel already exists, so let's deal with what we have, two-state solution, hopefully bring some peace, and maybe Israel can be a useful ally. What the fuck's wrong with that position? But no, it's not enough. It's not good enough. You have to be a total isolationist, pull off foreign aid immediately to make these people happy. But I digress on that. I'm going to run through this quickly so my battery doesn't die. I mean, and people will be missing this face in a few minutes, and we'll have to just hear my voice. But that was the second day. Probably the most jam-packed day. Probably the best day in general. It was awesome. I loved it. So many cool people I saw. I must have seen like 20 people. Fantastic. It was the whole package, the whole shebang. But then day 3, which is the last main day of CPAC, which was a little slower day for me, but still walked right in. I saw James O'Keefe talking to some people. Cool. So I got to see him. And that was right after I saw Rick Harrison. I saw Rick Harrison right after. I forget which order, but I saw those guys back and forth. And I love James O'Keefe. Saw Michael Knowles, whatever his name is, from the Daily Wire, around there. I saw Tom Fitton from Judicial Watch at his booth. Didn't get to meet him actually because he left right when I was getting there. I saw Matt Maj Touré going down escalator, and I saw a speech too. Because right after him was Candace Owens, and I thought, oh, I'll check out Candace's speech. Saw her speech, and then I was walking the media row, and guess who was fucking there? I saw a big crowd, and it was at the Epoch Times, whatever that Chinese outlet's called, and it was Candace fucking Owens doing an interview with them. I was like, oh, cool. Maybe she'll come out and I can say hi to her or something. And she came out, there was a lot of people. She was taking loads of selfies, and I could tell she was getting overwhelmed with them. So I was like, I'm not going to ask for one. Like, it's fine. I kind of matured with those things, but even though I would still love to have them with her because I do like her, but she was taking them, so I said, hi, Candace, thank you for what you do. And I was so tired this day because I did not have any food in me, or I did, but like hardly any. I was really tired. So I was just like, hi, Candace. Thank you for what you do. Here's my card. If you want to speak at Penn State, we brought Donald Trump Jr. And she was like, yeah, okay. She said, I know. And she was like, I know, thank you. I was like, oh, shit, she knew about our event? Cool. But I was really tired. I probably made the worst first impression with her. I'm sorry, Candace. If you're watching this, I'm sorry. I do like you, and I wish I had more energy. But
if you
saw her, yeah.
Oh,
sorry, what was that?
I was just going to say, if Candace Owens is watching this, welcome to the Whitfield Report. So,
yes, of course. I also saw, because this person was speaking at a panel before Candace. All their speaking slots for these guys, they always get delayed at this fucking thing, and I don't know how or why, but they keep getting like an hour late, for the most part. But Lawrence Jones from Fox News, I saw his thing. I saw him in the hallway. I saw Sebastian Gorka coming on crutches to his booth. And I saw him do some interviews. Mark Lindell, the My Pillow guy, I saw him many times, and I saw him getting interviewed by InfoWars by Owen Schroyer, and Owen was interviewing him. And after Owen did that, I was sticking around for like, oh, InfoWars is back. It's gonna be good. I followed him, and I did something, I forget what it was, and I come out, and I see Owen like walking away with a big crowd following him. I'm like, oh shit, what's going on? And I caught up to him, and he's like, InfoWars is getting kicked out of CPAC. We are being banned. And this lady came up to him and gave him no fucking reason, just said, you got to leave. So InfoWars didn't get a booth. They didn't get media credentials. Owen had gotten a regular attendee badge, approved and everything, and they're kicking him out. All he was doing was regular interviews. He wasn't even pulling any stunts or doing any shock jock shit. He was just doing interviews. He was at one booth that a company let him do that. The company that was the people that ran that booth, they let him do that. They invited him there, but CPAC started kicking him out, and that pissed me off. The Gavin and Jacob thing happened the day before, and now they were getting kicked out the next day. It is so stupid that CPAC was kicking out an influential voice for Trump and the conservative movement, and when somebody asked Gorka about it, he just said, oh, the InfoWars are kooks, and we don't want them here. Fuck you. I'm sorry. I don't care what you think about them. If fucking Antifa people can apply for a press credential and get it, then InfoWars of all people should be getting plenty of them, and easily. So it's so stupid. They should be allowed there. Everyone should be allowed there. Like literally everyone. neocons, right-wingers, Fuentes, InfoWars, conservatives, libertarians, nationalists, cucks, whoever, they should all fucking be allowed there. Because it just seems like CPAC picks and chooses who can come, who they're comfortable with. But anybody that's a little bit too edgy, a little bit too interesting, can't have them. All the fun people were getting kicked out. All the cool people were getting kicked out. And that just drove me nuts. It's so stupid, especially if they stand for free speech. So that really was a downer. But in that media row, I also saw Kyle Kashuv at one point. I saw Nuance Bro, who I got to talk to the following day, but I did see him there. Luke Radowski from We Are Change. I saw him when we were exiting the Gaylord. I recognized his voice, and I saw him. And I saw Ricky Rebel, too, who was on Milo's show recently. He was also a celebrity singer. Do an interview at that Epoch time, and I saw him eating with some people on the last day. But that was the third day, which didn't have any after parts. We were like, what the fuck did we do? And so we went to bed early because we knew that on the last day, Saturday, was when God Emperor Trump was going to speak. So we knew that we had to get to bed early because he was supposed to speak at 1, and we figured we got to get there at like 8 to just get into the fucking thing, get decent or okay seating. So turns out when we went there on the last day, like basically everything was shut down. It was just about the speaking stuff. And then you walked in, you had to go through all this security, Secret Service. Funniest thing happened too was when we were waiting in line, I gotta find who these people were. It said, I think it was for some governor's campaign, but my girlfriend and I had MAGA hats on. My girlfriend bought a MAGA hat, her first MAGA hat, a real MAGA hat the day before, and I had mine from a few months ago when I bought it. And we were in line for MAGA hats, and we were arm in arm because we were, it was like a pretty cool day. Like we were getting excited to see the president. And these two guys were there, and they just said, hey, excuse me, you guys are the two cutest couple here. Can we get your picture? I was like, oh my God, that's so sweet of you. Like I didn't expect that. So they took our picture. So that was really sweet and nice of them. And so when we got in, there were a bunch of speeches that were boring as hell that we had to sit through. James O'Keefe's was awesome. My girlfriend liked that and got interested. But that happened. And so we saw, a bunch of speeches, and then Trump had to do a coronavirus press conference, which didn't actually delay it. The whole event itself was just delayed, like already. Like I said, this shit gets delayed. They were so far behind. They were 2 hours late to have Trump speak. And so he was actually speaking at 3, which I thought was when he was originally supposed to speak, but it turned out to be 1. But he spoke at 3. We were all packed in there. We got like near, there are thousands of people in this room, and we got our seats, which were hard to find. And they kept trying to, other people would try, the workers there would try to give up your seats if you went to the bloody bathroom. So I always had somebody there to watch it. But we were kind of in between the middle and the back. We weren't in the back, we weren't in the middle, but we were just kind of in between there. So it was okay seating. I wish we gotten better, but that didn't matter because when Trump finally came out, and I was excited, and we actually took a nap. That's how boring it got and how tired we were because we had to wake up fucking early. We woke up at 5:30.
Sure.
I had to get there early, but we took a nap. And when, right before Trump came out, like I woke up, I opened my eyes and I saw the presidential podium on the stage. I was like, oh my God, he's coming. And, they played this like little video, and then Matt Schlapp comes out and introduces Trump, and everybody stands up with their cameras, up. So I couldn't even see him for a bit, but they were playing the, it's proud to be an American.
Yeah.
Na, 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 na. And when I saw him, I was like, oh my God, it's the fucking president of the United States. Oh my God. Like I fangirl. I mean, it was amazing. Then when I heard his voice, I will say, I've never been to a Trump rally before. I know, sin of mine. I'm going to go to one.
I've never been to one either, brother, but I'm changing that this go around.
Dude, you need to see this man before he leaves office. Oh my God, dude. I've never seen a more charismatic, more energetic, more just unbelievably amazing speaker. He is just magic. There is no other way to describe it. It is magic how he can connect with you. You can feel him, feel the energy, feel the passion, feel the humor, feel the love he has for you in this country. That's the power. He's a people person. You feel like he's connecting to you. His speech was amazing. My girlfriend loved it. And she was not the biggest fan of Trump like I am. Like, she liked him, but she wasn't like a fan.
Right.
After she became a fan, I could see it in her eyes. Like, it was unbelievable how powerful he is as a speaker. And all those times, like, you know, I watch Trump rallies, you know, and I like them. There is nothing like seeing this guy in person. And every time he makes a joke, everybody laughs and gets that it's a joke. He's literally a stand-up comedian. The whole thing, yeah, it's serious at times, but he's making jokes. He's having fun the whole time. And all these times CNN would take a joke seriously or be like, oh, how awful he is. I understood now when Trump says like it's a joke, or like he even mentioned during this speech, like the whole Russia, if you're listening, get the emails, whatever the fuck it was. I understand that's a joke now, because when you're feeling it, you can completely tell when he's joking, and it's like I was never happier. That was such a happy, joyful experience. When he says these rallies are love fest, that is exactly what they are. It feels like a love fest. These people love America. They love Trump, and Trump loves America and loves the people. It was just amazing energy. It's something like I've never felt before.
Very high energy, folks. Very high.
Not like Jeb. And the best part, the highlight of it, he made this joke about Mini Mike that just got everyone. He's standing there at the podium, and he's like, Mini Mike, he's so short. He's mini, and he's dropping in the polls. He's doing terrible. Something like that he was saying. And then Trump, he's literally at the podium, and he starts going like this. I can't quite do in this seat. But he starts going like this.
Oh, yeah,
like,
I saw that.
Oh, my God, dude. When we all just died, everybody was dead. We were laughing for like a solid minute. It was so fucking funny. I mean, he's such an inspirational, I don't want to use the word touching, but it feels that way because he just connects with you. Like, again, it's like the Trump hotel experience. The Trump experience, if it's him, the hotels, his products, they touch you and resonate with you. That's where I'm looking for. Resonate with you like nothing else. Absolutely amazing. And when we walked out of it, I was just like, oh, my God. It was amazing. I'm not going to lie. I don't do this all, but I was almost about to tear up. I know it sounds silly, but he just wows you and connects with you in such a magical way. It was unbelievable that I got to see the man that I've admired for so long. And when we walked out, I was like, we just saw the President of the United States. And we were really happy. We were like, it just literally made us so much happier. It was magical.
Hey, yeah.
You know, so we were really happy, and we just couldn't have been happier after that. It was fantastic.
Well, hey, dude, if you're, if you're, don't give yourself too much crap about almost crying during, the president's speech. You're talking to a guy who literally cried when Trump was called as the winner during 2016. I will admit I cried when Trump won in 2016, just because I was not expecting it at all. So
I don't blame you, dude. Like, it's unbelievable. He is unlike any president, unlike human being on earth. And I talked to my girlfriend, like, he is a one of a kind. You'll never see a president like him. Like, you saw something you're going to remember for the rest of your life. Like, it was a remarkable experience. Like, I just thinking about it's like getting to me. I'm getting the feels because it's so powerful. you gotta experience it. You just can't put in the words just how amazing it is. The last thing I'll say, because I know I've been talking a lot, so I'll try and wrap up.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Yeah, my battery's at 8% here, so my camera's gonna die. But after that, then see, this is insane. That was day 4. And after that, we still had to go. The last thing was the Night for Freedom, Mike Cernovich's event. We go there. It's actually at the same place the second Alex Jones event was at. And we go there, and I'm not going to lie, this was the first time I got nervous. It was the first person I saw when I walked in. First fucking person was Anthony Scaramucci.
Oh, and I'm like, the mooch.
Holy shit. Because here's the thing. I'm not happy with how the mooch has been recently with shitting on Trump. But the dude's probably the wealthiest guy I shook hands with this whole time. Like he's an alpha type. He's a fucking alpha type. He's alpha as fuck. So I saw him. I almost met him right then and there. But we had to register. I was a little intimidated. I'm not gonna lie. This event was intimidating because there was a lot of rich, and I don't want to say powerful. That's a little silly, but a lot of rich and prestigious people, and it was intimidating. Like the Alex Jones thing was just a bunch of normal people and some maybe wealthier people. We're all just sort of a bunch of friends hanging out, shooting the shit. It felt like this was this was something else. So I saw him there. I did get to meet him. And he's the mooch. Like you see him on camera, like he is a super charismatic, smooth talker. Let me tell you, he's kind of got that like Trump does him. He's got that thing where he just sort of touches you in a way like very few people do. And I remember saying like to him like something along because he started talking about why he turned on Trump. Basically, it was like, because Trump attacked my wife, which I don't even know if Trump really did, but he said, I told him, I said, like, I understand, I've had to defend my girlfriend a few times, and he goes, yeah, and I bet she appreciates it. And then he looked at her, and because she was kind of giggling and smiling, like in a sort of like that sort of way,
yeah,
and he goes, see, she does, and then he left and did his debate that he did there. And I was just like, oh my God, just met the mooch. I didn't get to get in my car, get a photo or anything, but it was cool talking to him for the few seconds I did. But I also talked to Jack Posobiec, who I had on the show on Real News on Versa Media. Very normal dude, very cool. And he even said to me, he's like, I've done a lot of interviews, but I really love the one I did with you guys. And I was like, shit. And I also met Cernovich. Right when he entered, I met him. And he was pretty cool, pretty normal dude. And I like him a lot. I really appreciate what he does. And there were a few other people there. There were no groypers there, actually. The groypers didn't want to pay the $100 to be there. But there were a lot of rich people.
Surprise.
Yeah, I know, right? And I figured that'd be the case. Like I even told my girlfriend that before we got there. I actually saw somebody from Penn State that I used to know there, which was crazy. And I didn't know he was in town. But saw a few people. Trying to remember who else I saw, but I did talk to Nuance Bra. I think he was the guy I talked to the most. I met Carpe Duncum, the guy who makes the memes for Trump there.
Oh, yeah.
Memes. Saw him because he was debating Mooch. I met Michael Malice there, too.
Oh, you met my favorite my favorite semi-libertarian.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe him because he's still pretty pro-Trump. It's pretty nice. And I did talk to Nuance Pro, and I talked to him about Nick Fuentes and the Groypers because he says like, yeah, I've talked to Nick a few times, nice guy, but he's young and his views might be a bit out there and they probably change. I talked to him about a few other things, mentioned him and he was dressed super casually. This like he was kind of underdressed, he had like a backpack on, but he was probably the chillest to talk to. He was just chill. There's another way to describe it. It was just like a normal guy, like our age, to talk to, and he's really quick and to the point and very nice and humble. Like when I came up to him, I was like, oh, because I wanted to double check. I'm like, are you Nuance, bro? And he says, nah, I'm not him. And he's like, just kidding. No, of course I am. I was like, yeah, I thought you were. But he was cool to talk to, and I hope to get him on the show soon too. But talk to him about a few things. pitched him the idea about our club, our new free speech club, and he was pretty cool. And yeah, so how was that day? It was Trump's speech, which was amazing, and that night, and we were exhausted. There were people going to Trump Hotel, and we were like, let's see how much the Uber is, and it was a little too pricey. So like, I'll just go back to our place, because then we'll have to get another Uber, and it's going to be more expensive. So went back to our place, and the final day, I know I'm finally getting to the end of this story, day 5 was Sunday when everything's all said and done, and it was just my girlfriend and I. The people that we brought through Sierras had to go back home to alternative means because they only had hotels till Friday night. So we then decided we'd take Sunday to explore D.C. because I'd never been there. She'd been there, but not really, I guess maybe seen as some of the newer things. So we saw the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, walked by the mall, saw the MLK Memorial there. We hit those things real quick. It was a long walk, and parking was a little difficult. Navigating those roads was fucking insane, and DC traffic was insane, but I got used to it. And then at the end of it, we had a little bit of time kind of left, and I was like, let's drive by the White House. And we saw the White House. I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to stop by Trump Hotel one more time. I kind of want to do it. And she was like, yeah, cool, let's do that. Because we did want to go back to it. And so I went by, and there was not that many people on the street. So we got super close parking, like literally like right next to the building. I'm like, oh, this is great. This is awesome. And we went in there and we looked at one more time, took it all in. And then my girlfriend was like, maybe we should try something. Some of the food there. And I was like, yeah, I heard they had complimentary bread and bacon, which they actually didn't. And I was like, why not? Hey, we'll take a look at the menu. She kind of peer pressured me into it, thankfully. And I was like, let's just take a look at the menu. Why not? I'm looking at the menu. I see a few things. I'm like, it's actually not that expensive. I mean, it's pricey, but we'll split something, and, that'll be our treat, And I said, so we'd like to be seated. And we sit down. Our waiter comes up, and we looked at the menu, and we decided to order some steak. Thought it's the perfect thing to eat, steak. Really good testament to what this was like. And I also thought, why not have some cookies, too, to have some dessert? The steak was $35. The cookies were $15. And I expected the steak might be a small portion or something, because that's the way these, ritzy luxury are. They'll fucking charge like $50 for like a small-ass steak. So I mean, those are kind of my expectations, but it's Trump. So maybe it's just, I said to him, like, this is probably going to be one of the best meals you've ever had and one of the best steaks you've ever had. And so, the waiter kind of, I asked him, I was like, I heard you guys had complimentary bacon or bread. And he's like, nah, sorry, we don't. And I was like, false rumor. He's like, yeah, alternative news. And he went off and did our order, brought it out. And when we got it, I told him that we'd split it, and because I told him I was like, okay, we'll get the steak and we'll just split it. And we told him the order. He was nice enough and thoughtful enough to bring the steak out in 2 separate plates, because he told me, I was like, oh yeah, it's about 5-6 chops or cuts, and I was like, okay, we can probably eat that, and it might just fill. It's just enough. But it was like 5-6 cuts per person, and it was one steak, and it came with fries. And I'm like, cool, let's try the fries. The fries were the perfect amount too, and they gave enough to each of us. It was and I tried the steak first, and it had this butter on it. So I didn't try it for the butter first, but I tried the steak. I'm like, this is really, really good. It's really soft. It's super moist. It's dripping. It's tasteful. It's got some nice, unique seasoning. And then I put this butter on it, which I found out was truffle butter. Oh my God.
Oh, you discovered truffle butter, huh?
I did. It took it to another level. And I'm like, this is amazing. This is the best steak I've ever had by far. And my girlfriend's been to a steakhouse, and she said it's the best she's ever had too. Unbelievable. Unbelievably good.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I'm a bit of a foodie myself, so we could actually do a whole podcast on just food. In fact,
Yeah.
a couple of people have actually asked me to do that. Maybe I will do something like that.
You should.
Maybe I'll.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll.
You should go to the Trump Hotel and review it.
Yeah. Well, why should I should do a restaurant review the next time I'm in the Big Apple? Which, by the way, have you ever been to New York City, Sean?
No, unfortunately, I have not. That is my next stop.
Oh yes, you definitely need to go to the Big Apple at least once. I've been there 7 times now over the entire span of my life. So
Cool.
But
That's good. And the fries. I mean, excuse me. Food's making me burp just talking about it. The restaurant we ate at in National Harbor, those were really amazing fries. Like, they were really good. The Trump fries were perfect. There's no other way to describe it. Perfect. Perfectly cooked, perfectly salted, perfectly flavorful with a unique seasoning again. They may taste like unlike any other fry, and the steak tastes like any other steak. And there were plenty of them, and there was not a bad fry in the bucket. That was the big one thing on this, was every fry was good and perfect. So we had that. And then, again, the thoughtfulness is what was so great about the experience. Then they waited till after we finished our steak and fries to bring out the cookies so that they were warm and they didn't get cold just sitting there. And they brought out the cookies, and I thought it'd be like maybe 2 cookies or 1 big one or something like that. It was 4 decent, like about bigger than like about hockey puck size cookies, and about the thickness too. They weren't thin and shitty. They weren't too thick. They were perfect thickness and oozing with chocolate, just melting and dripping out of it. It was the best cookie I've ever had. It was amazing. It was just so delicious. My girlfriend couldn't even finish hers because she was kind of getting stuffed. So I was like, "Oh, you sure you don't want more of this amazing cookie?" But I then ate it. But oh my God, dude! And then the waiter, again, it gets better. You think the food's done and it can't get better. Our waiter comes by, and he gives me the check. And I put my card in it, and I was getting his tip ready because I was like, I'm gonna tip a little high for him. I mean, he's been really nice, and this is just a great experience. Like, the experience alone made me want to tip him more.
Yeah,
so I gave him like a 5% tip, and so I gave him that, and he brought the thing back for me to sign, and then so we could go. And I look at the pen, and it says Trump Hotel on it. I'm like, this is a really cool pen. And he walks by us and he goes, "Take it as a souvenir." And we just looked at each other, like girlfriend and I were like, "Oh my God, really?" And we took it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. In the back of my brain, I was like, maybe I should take this as a souvenir and just not tell anyone. They probably have plenty of pens. They wouldn't know. So who cares? But when he said that, it just made me happy. It was such a beautifully perfect cherry on top way to end the experience. It was so, again, like Trump himself, it's this sort of magical experience. And we just giggled out of like childish joy, honestly. Like we got to, we were like 2 kids going into like the rich restaurant, eating there, and then taking a souvenir. Like it was just wonderful. It was literally, the experience made us happier. We couldn't stop talking about it. So when we got into the car and we started driving out of the area, we couldn't stop talking about, it's like an Apple store. You go into an Apple store and it's an experience. Yeah. It's not like any store. It is a full-on experience unlike anything else.
Oh,
and that's what the hotel was like. And it's called a 6-star hotel, and it fucking deserves it. 10 out of 10 would absolutely recommend. Best restaurant experience, best eating experience I've ever had. Loved every second of it. Loved every bite. And again, the waiter, the cherry on top was giving us the pen. Just little things like that were just beautiful. And if you ordered bacon, by the way, they bring it out on this fucking like cross. And it's all like held up with clothespins. And they take a blowtorch blow the fucking.
Oh.
Apparently, it's the best bacon ever. And then they blow this like incense thing on top of it that we could smell. The couple across from us had it. And they do that with a drink too. They'll blow torch it and give it to you. It's just, and the champagne, they'll like take like the fucking like machete thing, like cut it and it pops open.
Oh shit, they'll do that. Oh damn. So.
And they even, again, these little details. When the couple were getting the bacon thing done, he asked them for their phone because they were filming it and took a picture of them with it. I mean, it was just a wonderful experience. And even the bathrooms were gorgeous. Marble everywhere. It was beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
I spent, like, literally when we were sitting there waiting for our food, which took a little while, but it was worth the wait. I told her it probably would be. I'm just looking around the hotel, looking at all the details. I couldn't stop looking at it. Neither could she. We sat there in, like, silence for a while. You know, it's like they say in Pulp Fiction, it was comfortable silence. It was just such an amazing experience. And that is what Trump gets. He gets it's about the experience, creating a unique, memorable experience that makes you want to come back. It brings customer loyalty and just makes your life better. I could talk about this for hours. I already have been. I could just talk about the Trump Hotel for hours. It was just such an amazing experience. I loved it, loved it, loved it. And again, it was beautiful how we bookended the trip with Trump Hotel to start it and Trump Hotel to end it. Absolutely beautiful, perfect. And by the end of Trump's speech, I said this after Trump's speech and after eating at his hotel too. I already loved the man. I thought I couldn't love him anymore. After seeing him speak live and after eating at his hotel, my respect level, my love level, my fangirl level cranked up another few notches. It was just, I was so impressed. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was amazing. We were giggling our way back to the car because it was unlike anything else. I cannot recommend it enough.
Yeah, that's super cool, man. Yeah, well, the experience I had at Trump Tower in Manhattan, I mean, it sold me on the experience I had at Trump Tower, just being in there, and the customer service at like the gift shop and everything, sold me.
Yeah,
That was what sold me on him being president. And like, I actually asked people like, so how is working with, and they all said, oh, well, he actually takes the time to get to know everyone's name and like
that's good.
Like one of the guys who operates the elevator, because in Trump Tower they actually have people who like operate the elevator, and there's this guy from Spain in there who, who's Hispanic and said, he spoke English very well, but like with an accent, so I could tell he was from Spain, and he said, don't believe everything that you hear about Mr. Trump. He always referred to him as Mr. Trump, which I thought was, cool. He said, don't believe everything you hear on the news with Mr. Trump. He said, I've been Mr. Trump's personal elevator man for 35 years. And
wow.
He's never forgotten my name, and he's never forgotten my kids' names, and he's always been good. He's always personally handed me, an envelope for Christmas when it comes to bonuses. He's always been very good to me. And keep in mind, Trump wasn't even president yet, but the guy goes, I'm sure going to miss him when he becomes president, and he's not here as often. So
yeah. That's something I wish I was better at, honestly, because I'm a bit of an introvert. One of the things I wish I could have done better with, like Turning Point, for example, here is gotten to know our members a bit better. And I've done things to do that where like we'll have club dinners and I talk to some people, or I get the people talking with one another. But I wish I personally was talking to each member at some point, because that personal touch. I mean, it's just also cool getting to know different people, but that personal touch is just magical, and that's what Trump is so good at. And you see it reflected in Trump's businesses. That's a great story. And I was tempted to ask our waiter about like what's the Don really like, or what do you think of the Don? But I could tell, like, when he made like the alternative news, fake news sort of joke, like I could tell, like they kind of thought we, like my girlfriend and I could tell he thought we were adorable, seeing like these two little kids coming into Trump hotel eating there. Like they understood, they got what we were doing. And it just, again, it's a connection. It just, my God, it's like, again, it's like an Apple store. Amazing experience.
Oh yeah.
Experience so critical. And you're an ad guy like me, so you know how important that is now. Just magical, can just make everything better.
Yeah, well, and I also have family members who also work for Apple too, so I really appreciate the compliment. So,
Oh,
so
yeah, it's Trump's business is amazing, and it makes me feel more for like all these fucking like people that just make the most disgusting attacks about the guy. My girlfriend's like came out of it and said, how do they think he's racist? How? You know, because all the workers there are immigrants, and
yeah,
you know, they're brown, and you know, for the most part, you know, they're clearly non-white immigrants.
yeah. He was the first. He was one of the first people to black people in the country club in one of the country clubs in New York. So way back when in like the early 70s. But at any rate though, Sean, I don't want to. I know that your computer is close to dying, so I don't want to keep you. But
okay, we can keep going if you want, because the audio is going to another computer. This is just for the video feed. But I know I talked a lot because I wanted to get it all out before the video went, but I can still keep going for, it's getting closer to, maybe I can't keep going for a bit. But do you have any questions you want to ask me or anything? You know, because like I said, I rambled a lot there, but.
Oh no, you're good. Yeah, and I'm still good to keep going. I just don't want you to suddenly, die on me.
Yeah. I shouldn't.
But
I shouldn't do that.
Yeah. But no. So I guess one question I do have, and maybe
Speaking of that, my video feed did just die, so I'll just be audio only now.
Yeah, your picture just froze here, so I'm gonna take you off split screen. So now, folks, those who are watching on video, now you just get to see my lovely face.
That ladies.
Yeah. Yeah, here. Were there any babes? Well, we're on the subject. Were there any babes for Trump? Not that you should know about that because you were with your girlfriend. So
you can keep a secret, right, Sam?
but can 623 other subscribers keep a secret too? So
I kid. Actually, the thing we had to deal with was like looking out for creepy guys.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't know if she would want me to talk about that here, but I'll just say that it's not as bad as the creepertarians at Yao conventions. Yes, that is a term.
No, I'm familiar with that too. So
funny term, creepertarians. Oh my god.
So I've got to tell you a story about YellowCon real quick. So, and if anyone from YellowCon is watching, I'm sorry, but you guys kind of
fucking suck with this shit.
You guys
oh my god.
You guys kind of deserve this. So first night I was there. So couple of things. So first off, we had to drive from Florida, through Georgia to Tennessee, which for those who don't know, like Florida has people think that Florida has shitty roads. Florida has decent roads. Tennessee has decent roads. Georgia, oh my god, Georgia has some of the worst fucking roads ever, like, completely bumpy. Like,
That's probably
yeah, like, well, like, and like, I'm an insomniac to begin with, so like, I just don't sleep, period. But like, I was trying to like kind of not, so obviously I can't drive because I'm crippled. But like the two guys I went with would like take turns, so like what so like Thomas would uh take one shift, and then Cole would take another shift, and they just did that back and forth. At one point, like Thomas, nodded off in the back seat, and and I was like trying to sleep too in the front, but the roads were so bumpy in Georgia that none of us could like even get some shut eye. But anyway, going forward to YaleCon, we get to Memphis, and you know basically we checked in. They wouldn't let us check in until until like everyone showed up too. That was like the real pain in the ass because
yeah.
people from all over the country were coming in. But and then they did like their first like big opening speech, and we had some speakers, and but like I guess the weirdest part was like the after party the first night. Like I remember I was meeting some people, and there was this girl there who I met, and I was just chatting with, and like I was talking to her, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm kind of new to politics just in general. This is kind of my first outing," and she's like, "I identify as like a as like a conservative Republican." I'm like, "Oh, cool." All of a sudden, this like you can always tell these types of libertarians because they're like, what type of like conservative libertarian are you? Are you like a Roth? Are you like a Rothbard or like a Mises, or like they get like super autistic, and like this poor girl.
Yeah, they do.
This poor girl was like, I'm sorry, like what do you mean? And then they go into like this whole technical explanation, and this poor girl is just like lost. So
She's like, I don't give a fuck. Leave me alone.
so we also played this drinking game, my buddies and I, and yes, we got hammered because we took a swig of beer every time someone else started a sentence with well, as a libertarian, I believe, and it was not the entire weekend. Eventually, we were like, "Okay, we have to stop, otherwise we're going to die of alcohol poisoning," because literally every sentence was, "Well, as a libertarian, I
Yeah.
believe."
Well, before you said that was what the drinking game was, and you said you guys got hammered, I was like, oh, how quickly did you finish the bottle? Now I'm just wondering how many bottles did you finish?
We finished like two 12 packs. We never finished a bottle, but that was because we were like we finished we finished like two 12 packs, so we better slow down. So, um, but also like I wore my MAGA hat and got like some people who are like, oh, Trump's like a neocon. I'm like what? So I got into that argument with people too. So that was fun. I'm like Trump is actually the most libertarian president we've ever had too. So, but I don't know. So so that's my What Alcon story. So I guess my big question in regards to CPAC is what's the attitude kind of, because like were people really talking at like 2020 that much, or like obviously I know in the speeches there were, but like was there like an attitude of like I don't know anticipation for the election, because it kind of seemed like quieter this year on social media as opposed to like years past. People just didn't seem as energized. But like, I don't know, what was your impression of that?
Well, the people that did attend it were energetic. There was lots of energy. But what I noticed is there is a sharp divide between the establishment and the anti-establishment, between the establishment and the more dissident, interesting, controversial characters. It was very clear that the people attending CPAC, a lot of them, like majority of them, were proud and loud Trump supporters with Trump gear on. A lot of them went like fucking cosplaying in Trump gear. It was like a sea of red MAGA hats. But the leader, again, it's like a lot of these things. The people are great. The boots on the ground are fabulous. The people up top suck. And that's why I noticed with CPAC. The people up top are the cucks. The people attending the conference are all just cool, normal people like you and I that love Trump and love this country. And people were disappointed when Owen was getting kicked out. They're like, why is he getting kicked out? He's done nothing wrong. And that shit annoys me. Like, that really annoys me. The conservative fucking political action conference is kicking out conservatives from their conference. And I know when my friend went 4 years ago, which was like in 2016, I think, or 2015, I forget which year, he said that there was definitely a lot of cucks there, a lot of never Trumpers that were kind of, getting into sort of arguments and skirmishes with the Trump supporters there. So there was like a clear, almost civil war happening. But with this, the civil war was between the people and the people running and the management of the event, the top brass, and the Groypers. I forgot to mention the last day, right after Trump's speech when we were coming down the escalator and we were about to leave. We were just hanging around, looking around, see if there were any interesting people floating around in the lobby. And who do we see come down? Nick Fuentes with his Groypers. All of them there, J.D. McNeil, Patrick Casey, all the usual suspects. And he sent out this fucking stupid, uninformed tweet a few minutes before I saw him. So what happens at CPAC is on this last day since the president speaks, like everything shuts down for the president, and it's really just all about him and the speeches leading up to it. But Trump spoke at 3, and his speech lasted 2 hours, and it ended around like 5, I think. That's what it felt like, at least. It was like from 3 to 5. And I remember checking my watch when we were getting out, and it was like 5:05 when we were walking out. And I saw workers literally tearing down the signs and all this stuff that was making up the convention. So the convention was over. It was over. People were leaving. The stuff was getting taken down. And an hour later, this is how long this was, because we laid down because we were tired, and we were thinking about what to do next. And it was 6 o'clock. And Nick Fuentes says on Twitter, I'm going to try and enter CPAC. Dude, the event ended an hour ago. And you're going to enter on the last day. Try to enter on the last day, an hour after it's over? What the fuck are you doing? What are you trying to prove here? Is this going to be a gotcha? Like when you get kicked out, you're like, oh, I'm getting kicked out of CPAC, guys. Even though, it's actually over. But, well, he ended up not doing that, which is good. But it was just so stupid. And I saw him there and his Groyper pals doing their whole shebang thing. So there was that. And my girlfriend even got offered a job at Project Veritas once we entered the Night for Freedom.
Whoa. You didn't mention that.
I mean, when I say she got offered a job, it was kind of like they came up to her and they're like, hey, you would be perfect as an undercover reporter. Oh, really? Yeah. I know one when I see one, and you're perfect for it.
Oh.
So she basically The job, the Project Veritas.
Oh, Sean, I'll have to talk to you off air about that. So,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there are people around us here and there. And apparently, they did to a few people. So that's I guess it's okay to keep that in the edit. But yeah. So there was that. I did forget to mention. That's what I'm telling you, dude. Like, so much shit happened that. And then you saw so many people that, like, when you forget one thing, it's like it's still a big deal. But yeah, that's what I know. So like I said, I mean, the conference itself was a mixed bag. There was a lot of cuckiness from the top brass. Some cool booths, some cool speeches. Trump's speech was obviously the best, and that was the best part of the actual convention. But the best parts overall were Trump's speech and the extracurricular activities, the after parties, the dissident people coming into CPAC and doing shit, crashing the party basically, within the rules. That was the exciting stuff. And even my girlfriend said that, yeah, she was definitely moved by Trump's speech and understood why people loved him. But she also was way more, she had a way better time, and it was thought that the after parties were way more fun. She had so much better time with those, and I did too. I looked forward to them. They were the best parts of the actual, like, sort of convention-y sort of things or speaking things. The speaking things from the actual CPAC were boring as shit, and I missed most of them. I saw Nigel Farage as one. He was good, and I may have seen him outside the convention. Still couldn't quite tell, but I've already met him. But that's my TLDR of it, is that basically the convention itself is a mixed bag. There's cuckiness, but there is some cool shit like the vendors and Trump's speech. But the extracurriculars, the dissident, controversial people were the most fun. And Trump Hotel was just a completely unique, amazing experience. Like that just blew me away. I'm so glad we did it. Yeah. No regrets paying $55 for one steak we split and 4 cookies. No regrets.
Yeah, that sounds like a blast. I mean, that was. I will say this. I mean, as much crap as I give, YaleCon for being YaleCon, the one good thing about having it in Memphis was basically we left really early Sunday morning because we booted out, and so we stayed in Memphis, in downtown Memphis, and went back to Florida on Monday. But on Sunday we explored the town and saw downtown, which was pretty cool. But then we all kind of chipped in and got actual authentic Memphis barbecue, which is really good. If you've not had barbecue, Memphis is the place to get it. So for sure.
Cool.
So
yeah, and have you been to DC before? I forgot to ask that.
Yeah. I have been to Memphis. To DC. It was a long time ago when I was in elementary school still. But yeah, it's about time that I go back. So now I'm an adult. So,
I would recommend, dude, especially since in your current situation, when Trump gets his second term, go next year. I wouldn't wait for another year. I would definitely go as soon as you can. So the next one. Go to it, and I can help you. I can give you some advice. I don't know if I'll be able to go again, but do it through LI. Go again. And the LI dorms, they're not the best, but I didn't mind it for 1 second because they were fucking free. And if anything, you were saving money. So I know. But dude, go for it and do the after parties. Those are the best. That's the best part. I hope Alex Jones and all these people come back for it, and Gavin, because that'd be cool if you get to meet him. and definitely see Trump's speech. It's worth the fucking 6-hour wait that we had.
Oh yeah.
And also visit Trump Hotel. Those are the three main things I can say: are the after parties, the Trump speech, and the Trump Hotel. Just, it's awesome, and you'll have a great time. And I would recommend doing it with some friends or something.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Or a lady friend, and you'll have a great time.
For sure. So, well, anyway, Sean, I know it's 2 a.m., so I know I kept you up a little bit past your bedtime, but anyway.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I always enjoy talking to you, and you guys are back this week officially, right?
Well, we are going to be doing I guess say it's semi-official. Since our spring breaks next week, we won't be doing our usual transmission on Saturday. So we're going to probably tomorrow night. I'm literally going to do everything I just did for you and give the whole story with my boys and give a sort of rundown of everything we did in D.C. and record a special uncensored real news where we do a CPAC special of real news uncensored. And, I'll probably say this, give a little more insight if I can remember some things and shoot the shit with my friends. But going to need to carve out 2 hours for that because that was a lot to go over.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed the fact that you came on here. And, I'm optimistic that we're going to win, actually. I think it's going to be an uphill, I think it's not going to be an easy race. I know people, and look, even I've said it, that no Democrat has a chance of winning, but I don't think it's going to be easy. I think it's still going to be an uphill battle for us. It always is, as Trump supporters, and I don't think that this is going to be any different. But, what are your predictions for 2020 at this point?
Well, this is the worst time to ask me this because today, when it becomes nightfall again and we have Super Tuesday, that's going to tell us a lot more about the race. But I will say it looks like Bernie's going to get the majority of the delegates. I don't know if he's going to hit the plurality. We might have a brokered convention. But it's down to the three Bs of Bernie, Biden, and Bloomberg. I think Bloomberg will either win big or win nothing. I don't see a middle ground for him where he wins some. I think Biden's going to do better because I know a lot of these Democrats hate Biden. So, sorry, not Biden, Bloomberg. You can tell him get.
Yeah. Oddly enough, I think that yeah. Oddly enough, I think Bloomberg is maybe the only one who actually has a chance of winning against Trump, but I don't know. So, Yeah,
I think Bernie, I wouldn't underestimate Bernie, but I think he's got a cap on him. I think he has a base, which Bloomberg doesn't have. Bloomberg doesn't have base, but Bernie has a base. He has energetic supporters that can inspire people to volunteer, door knock, phone bank, and get voters out. But I don't think it's going to be enough. I just don't quite see it. But we'll see. Biden could still pull it off, but I don't know. I think it's really going to be Bernie. I think Bernie is in the best shape of all of them. And that's not saying much.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right, Sean. Well, anything you want to plug? I know you just plugged, your special. So, anything.
I was made it this far. Is not falling asleep like I'm about to. Go to Twitter at Versa News Media. And you can follow us on Twitter. Go to youtube.com/YouTube, or God, I'm screwing up. If you go to youtube.com/Versa Media channel, that is where you can see our YouTube channel with all of our cool interviews with Milo Yiannopoulos, Mike Cernovich, Jacob Wohl, Jack Pozobiec, Sargon Avocad, and many, many more big cool names. And Sam Whitfield, of course, too. He came on a few times, so check it out.
I'm like a regular contributor now, which I'm flattered.
Yeah.
So
don't give yourself such a prestigious title just yet. You have to be on the show 10 times before you get that title.
Well, I'm halfway there already. I think so.
Nah, you are kind of like a contributor at this point, because you've come on, I think 3 times really. Bone.
I mean, between you and Jeff, you two have helped build. I actually have a relatively big audience in Philly, which is
funny.
Which is funny because I always dig on the Eagles, but anyway.
Don't we all? Yeah, we should actually do some with Jeff. I've never actually gotten to talk to him, but you can also check out Versa Media on Facebook. It's at Versa News Media, I think there too. But our YouTube channel is the main place. If the link doesn't work for whatever stupid reason, just type in Versa Media. Should be the first thing that pops up. And you can also check out our new club that we mentioned, Uncensored America, the free speech club. That's going to be bringing somebody really cool. We're going to be announcing it in 2 weeks, hopefully, if things go to plan. So follow at Uncensored AM on Twitter and Facebook, and you can see that announcement when it does come. And I'll probably be talking to you again too, Sam, about that.
Sounds great, man. And it's interesting that you bring up Jeff because he says hello, and I'll tell you a bit about that after we get off the broadcast. But
for sure.
Anyway, folks, that concludes this rather long Tuesday edition of the podcast. And by now it actually is Tuesday when we're recording this. So,
and if you made you are definitely a super fan.
So although we didn't quite reach Joe Rogan levels, we could have gone at least 2 more conditioning. Yeah, 2 more hours if we wanted to do a Rogan style podcast. But at any rate, folks, I want to thank you all for joining me and for joining Sean. And I will be back for the Thursday audio edition of the podcast. And until then, God bless, God save this great nation, and thank you for watching and or listening to the Whitfield Report. God bless, God save this great nation, and we'll see you on the next podcast.
Booyah.
Hey there, folks. If you've made it this far to the end of the podcast, I'd like to thank you very much for listening to the show. You are the ones that make it possible for me to make an income from podcasting, and I greatly appreciate that just by listening to our show. You are helping us gain ad revenue. However, if you would really like to help support the show, I encourage you to please donate to the podcast and become a supporter of the show. You can head over to anchor.fm/Whitfield Report and click the support this podcast button and choose the amount that suits you to support the show. Or you can click the link in the show notes and it will directly take you to that page. If you can support the podcast, I really, really appreciate that. Anything that you can do to help out is greatly appreciated. Even if you can't afford to help financially support the podcast, I encourage you to please go on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or Stitcher and please leave this podcast a positive 5-star review. That really helps us out here at the Whitfield Report. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next episode.